mix up there. Okay, we'll put edit. Darius voted. Oh, man. There. Okay. How's that, board?
Yeah, I heard him, but yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we have two corrections to the minutes. One is the honor contract until 10/31 and pay until 11/12. And then we have the edit of Darius voted yes on both, would put motions. Was not heard. Any other edits? Okay, how about entertain a motion to accept the minutes as edited?
I motion it.
I still prefer to have the minutes looked at again. It was almost a month and a half, 2 months ago, and then go.
Okay, you don't have, you could table this. You don't have to approve the minutes of this meeting. You can approve them in the next meeting if you like.
Yes.
Okay, then let's just do that. All right,
Is the board okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
okay, the next item on your agenda is a financial report. We did receive the financial report from the previous management company, so I'm going to put that up on the screen, and it is in the board packages. So as of 10/31, I don't know what detail you typically would like to do here. I'll say that your total assets were $898,151 in the various operating and reserve accounts. You had negative $5,488 in your assessments prepaid, although I don't know why you can have negative prepay, but they're not my books. And then, of course, retained earnings and calculated earnings to balance out the liability side on the balance sheet. This is your income statement, but I think the against this one is probably more meaningful. And I'll try and zoom into it a little bit for you. So this is your income for the month. Your expenses against budget. So it looks like your accounting services were, well, year to date. Depends if you want to look year to date or monthly. I typically, when we review financials, we like to look at year to date against budget. Again, I'm unfamiliar with your financials, as of before us. So I'll just do your monthlies. Your accounting services was above budget. You had no budget below budget. Was no expense against the budget. You did have some bad debt of $80. You had some bank service charges of $10. Your billing statement was under budget or not utilized. Your management fees were $10,596 versus a budget of $29.50. You did not have a meeting expense of a budget of $150. No supplies against budget, no postage against budget. Your professional services for $525 against a budget of $0. You did have some transfer fees of $1,125 with a budget of $0. You did transfer two reserves of $4,900. And then web hosting was $530 versus a budget of $50. So your total admin was $17,000 versus a budget of $18,826, excuse me. You had some parcel expenses, a budget, but no expenses recorded. You had no collection expenses on this page. I'll go to the next page. These all have a budget of $0. So you did have some late fees with a no budget against that. You did have landscape maintenance that was right on budget. So your total operating expenses were $30,596 against a budget of $49,778. Operating income and your operating expense. So your net operating income was $111,313, which is a negative $40,958 against budget. I can't really answer too many questions about your financials. Obviously, we did not prepare these. If you have any questions, I can try. Board, do you have any questions? Any homeowners would like to ask any questions on your financials?
I have a question, Harmon. Do we pay for directors and officers insurance for our board members?
You do have D&O insurance, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, board, would you like to entertain a motion to accept the financials as presented?
Yes. Aye.
I'll second.
Okay, so when we have so many people on, so whoever makes the motion, could you identify yourself, please, so we can record that? The name of the second, we do not need. So who made the motion, please?
Sounded like Todd. I mean, like Ronnie.
Ron, you made the motion?
Yes. I
Okay,
second.
so Ron made the motion, and we had a second?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kevin.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any board discussion on the motion? Any homeowner discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We have a manager report. I'll put that up on the screen. These are some of the items to highlight that happened in the last few weeks. The vehicle gate, the access vehicle gate was repaired. The remotes were not working. A new receiver had to be installed. We did have a report of children playing on the gate. We sent an email to all the homeowners in the gated area regarding watching the children and asking their kids not to play on the gate. We had a wall fall on Quinn. If you haven't driven on Quinn in the last 3 days, there's a wall, homeowner wall, that the complete wall and part of another homeowner's wall completely fell down at 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday night. And we are in the process of getting that repaired and working with the homeowner. There is a safety fence that was put up the same day because it did expose the homeowner's pool. We have a meeting with the landscaper next week to walk the property. We did receive the irrigation map. We did receive that today. The board asked us to make sure we had one. As you all know, the overseeding was done, and during the overseeding project, there were, I'll just say, many irrigation repairs. There was lots of irrigation repairs done and invoiced. Our transition is almost complete. Is not complete 100% yet. We're still waiting for some final documents and funds from the previous management company. And the board, you do have a CD that is maturing at the end of the month that you'll need to make a decision before the end of the month, the end of December, on reinvesting that CD or letting it roll over or bringing it back into a new instrument. So that's our manager report. Any questions on those? We do not need a motion to approve. Okay. So old and new business. Transition update. Kathy, our director of operations, is on. I'm going to let Kathy speak to the transition. If you want to add anything to what I said, Kathy?
I don't think so. We've gotten quite a few phone calls and emails asking for assistance, and seems to be able to help everyone pretty quickly. So I think everything is going good as far as account access and any inquiries or issues related to their accounts directly. Other than that, I think we're doing good.
Board, do you have any questions or issues during the transition update?
No.
Okay. I'll open up to homeowners. Any homeowners have any questions on the transition? Okay. I hope it's going well. We'll hopefully be entirely done by the end of the month. Board, we need to pick a date for an annual meeting. I believe we had a date we were suggesting.
I think we were going to do January, fourth week of January on a Thursday, and then continue with every fourth Thursday for board meetings.
Okay. January 28th. Yeah, it was a question of January 14th or January 28th. So January 28th, and continue that as the standard standing meeting date?
If we do it on the 14th, more likely we won't be getting the financial, or we'll be getting it that day. If we do it on the 28th, we would have at least a week time to review. And that was my thought process, but up to the board what they want to do.
Yeah, I think
Chairman, the 28th works for me.
yeah, I think.
Okay, so that would work well, because it's difficult to get your books all closed and reports out that quickly to have a meeting on the 14th. And at best case, you'd only have 3 or 4 days, and we get them closed by the 10th. So we'll have the annual meeting will be on January 28th, 6 p.m. board. Is that when you want it?
Yes.
Okay, we'll have the annual, and we'll have a board meeting following that, and then we'll have your standing board meeting at the 4th Thursday of every month. Obviously, when you hit a holiday like Thanksgiving or Christmas, you can make those adjustments, and we'll have that at 6 p.m. also. We don't need a motion for that, but that's what we will go for. Okay. Your next agenda item is to confirm the law firm. A board member wanted this on the agenda. So would that board member like to make, or a board member like to make a motion to confirm your law firm relationship? Ron?
I'll make a motion.
I apologize. I like to, if the board is okay, Mark has been our attorney. He did a great job. He was actually voted even during focus. He's with, the law firm is something Hazelwood.
Carpenter and Hazelwood.
Yes. He's the assigned attorney. I suggest we go with them. They also have a attorney for water, which they're hard to come by. I suggest we go through them, and if anything that needs to go possibly to a different attorney, the board has to be notified. Is everybody okay with that?
Well,
Yes,
we need, if that's your motion, then we need a second, please.
Oh, I second.
No, you made the motion.
Oh, I
You
already
can't
made the
second your own motion.
Sorry.
I'll second.
Thanks.
Thanks, Todd. All right. Now, is there a board discussion on that motion? Okay. Is there any homeowner discussion on the motion?
I'd like to ask, are there any personal conflicts that need to be noted? It's kind of odd to confirm a law firm in a board meeting.
Well, that's what we thought.
board,
During, that's what we thought during RCP, that why they were picking them, but then they choose a different law firm.
Okay, so are there any personal conflicts?
No, not with this
Okay.
board.
Not
was
that I
our
know
attorney,
of.
so he helped us. Nathan, can you please share your address and homeowner with management, please? You're a homeowner?
It's a pretty odd question to ask right now, Ron, but it's 2527 East Sagebrush Street.
2527 what?
East Sagebrush Street.
All right. Thank you. All right. Hearing no more questions or comments on the motion.
I have a
All in
question.
favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Ross Path, 824 South Parkcrest. So it should be noted by each board member with a poll whether or not they have any personal conflict, and it should be noted as part of the record before the vote.
If that's what you're requesting, that's not typical of a vote and not required. If there is a conflict of interest, certainly a board member should note that. The question was asked, but to satisfy that, I don't see any harm in each board member saying or stating if there's a conflict of interest. Board, would you mind doing that?
I have no conflict of interest, none.
Okay, Art, I do not have any conflict of interest. I only met them a month ago.
This is Darius. I have no conflict of interest either.
This is Kevin Seaman, and I have no conflict of interest either.
This is Todd Millsap. I have no idea who the law firm even is.
And I'll state for Focus Management, we have no conflict of interest. We do work with that law firm and other law firms, of course.
Thank you for that.
All right. You're welcome.
Ross, we
I'll-
had Maxwell and Morgan as our attorney for a long time. And when RCP came in, they recommended we walk away from them and go with, Harmon, what is the name again? Hazelwood.
Carpenter Hazelwood?
Yeah, with them. So that's how we found out who they are. That's when we voted. We always have to have a assigned attorney to our case.
Okay, any more questions on the motion from homeowners? Okay, hearing no more. Board, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposed, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. I did talk about the wall damage a little bit, but I did put it on the agenda. We are currently getting quotes for the repair of that wall. As I stated, we put up a safety fence for that wall, and we are looking into the repair. I guess there's really not much to say other than the wall damage, but I wanted to be aware of it. Landscaping. So we were asked to put this on the agenda for board discussion. Board, would you like to discuss landscaping?
Yeah. Yeah, we are looking at several landscaping. The Turf and Trees contract is up in 2 months. They had a 3-year contract. They did a good job the last 7-8 months for us. They're welcome to bid on the job, just like everybody else. Harmon is going to send an RFP to them and to other 4 or 5 other landscaping companies. We have an issue with water with the lake. And one of the issues that we have is very hard for landscaping companies to guarantee their work because of the stuff that comes out of the bottom of the lake and plugs up the lines, especially the spaghetti lines, if you know what I'm talking about. So therefore, we need to figure out what we can do. If they can't warranty it, can they give us a discount? Because we are planning on landscaping. We are planning on upgrading this community. So I'm done.
Board discussion. I guess Ron is asking, do you have the contract that's coming up for renewal? Do you want to go out to bid do an RFP for bids for new landscapers, including the current landscaper?
yes.
We definitely need to do an RFP for new landscapers. My
Okay.
opinion.
Would a board member like to put that whole thing, what Ron said, and what you just said, Todd, in a motion?
I'll give it a try. I'd like to make a motion that we ask our management company, Focus, to publish an RFP to 3 or 4 landscaping companies. They are certainly welcome to send one to Turf and Tree because they have done quite well the last 6 to 9 months. And they deserve a chance. It should be noted that there's a few issues with the algae coming out of the pumped water system, and that we would like to have some accommodation for acknowledging that that could be a problem, so that we don't end up paying $50 a head for cleaning those out. And there might also, I don't know if it would be appropriate to put a mention in there or not, that we plan to upgrade our common area landscaping this year. That would be the gravel and more plants.
Yeah, I think it'd be appropriate to put it in the RFP about the algae situation and the guarantee of plants so they maintain the irrigation system. May I suggest that you include in your motion a non-renewal of the current landscape contract because it's going to auto-renew if you don't do anything.
Okay, I'll amend that and say that while we do not foreclose Turf and Tree competing the contract, that we will not renew the current contract on January 1st.
I agree with that, and I'd also like to add that going forward, all of our contracts will be structured in such a way that we can end it with a 30-day notice at any time.
Why don't you make that a separate motion, but I agree with you.
Harmon, quick question. So was it in the Turf and Tree contract that their contract would auto renew? Is that what
Yes.
you were saying?
Yeah, you have a 30-day window to not renew the contract. Otherwise, it auto renews for 1-year periods.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Actually, maybe we ought to read the motion back. Naomi, do you think you can read it back for us?
Yeah, so if Kevin wants to make a separate motion about the 30 days, the first motion was that our motion to have Focus send out an RFP to 3 to 4 landscapers as well as Turf and Trees to not renew the Turf and Trees auto renewal on January 1st for their contract, but that they are still able to put in their RFP for review.
No, very good. And then Todd seconded that, correct, Todd?
That is correct.
Okay. Any board discussion on the motion?
So when will we be giving Turf and Tree the 30-day notice? On December 1st?
Or before December 1st, correct.
Okay.
Any homeowner discussion on the motion?
Yes,
Go ahead, please.
Ross Path. I would suggest that you modify that motion to rephrase, instead of 3 to 4 companies, I would rephrase that to no less than 4.
I would even suggest no less than 6. We typically go out 7 to 9 and a couple don't, but we like to present more than 5 when you're doing this large of a project.
Agreed, because in
So-
its current form, you'd be restricted to only sending out 4.
And
Okay.
one you already know.
Okay, Art-
Would you like to?
Art,
Go ahead,
will
Art.
motion to say that we will send it out to 6 or as many as 9 companies. If we can
How
find
about
that are
minimum?
willing to
All right,
accept.
we'll do minimum 6. Very good. All right, so we have an amended motion. Let's go back to board discussion. Any further board discussion on the amended motion then? Okay, thank you, homeowner, for bringing that up. Any homeowner discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing them, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, board. The motion carries unanimously. Now we have a 2021 budget. I'm just looking at chatting, see if we have anything on the chat side. No, we're doing good on chat. So the way we look at a budget, and we prepared a budget for 2021 for you. There's 2 components to an HOA budget. There's the operational expense component. So you look at every line item of your operational expenses, and you look at those on a month-to-month basis. We typically look at run rates, anything changes from previous run rate to what it may be next year. If it's utilities, we like to get data, 3 or 4 year averages, and then make adjustments according to that. Contractual amounts, are there any of those contractual amounts going to change, go up or go down going forward? So as best we could with the data we had, we looked at every line item in your expense budget, and I'll go through that. The second major part of an HOA budget is your reserves. So it's your reserve items from your reserve study. The board did just commission a reserve study, and we do have that in draft form that we received a few weeks ago. We use the basis of the reserve expenses from the reserve study. And what a reserve study does is give you a list of assets, the cost of those assets, the life or the total life, and then the expected life. And I'll go through that in a little detail after I go through the expenses. So I'm going to put up on the screen the expenses in the draft budget. And go through those. So printing and postage are letters that we send out to the homeowners. We do not charge for violation letters, but we do charge to print and mail them. And it's a pass-through expense on the postage. I kind of looked at your last couple of years of what was charged by previous management companies in printing and postage and our experience with a community this size. So we came up with that number. Using our small crystal ball is part of the budgeting process. It's hard to come up with some numbers, without a lot of run rate and history with an HOA. So printing, we came up with $150 a month. Postage, if we use it, we use it. If we don't, the money goes, back in the bank and back in the reserves for next year. Clerical, this is where we put the mass mailings. When we do mass mailings via the Postal Service that are required, there's typically 2 required by law. Your annual meeting has to be mailed out, and then your budget at the end of the year is mailed out. So for a community this size, we use a third-party mailing house. It's a pass-through directly. We do not mark it up or change it at all, and we put that in. We also budget for at least 1 or 2 others if the board says, let's put out a newsletter or let's put out a mass mailing. So that's where we came up with this budget line item. Coupons and statements, we charge, everybody knows that the January 1st law that came into effect requires us to send coupons, or actually not coupons, but statements of account to every homeowner at the same frequency as assessments are charged. Your quarterly statements are sent out by our third-party mailing house at $3 per unit. If people opt into email, it's half of that. So when we send out the year-end letter and we send out the statements, there'll be a opt out of printed mail and opt into email. We have to do one or the other. The law requires us to send it somehow. You can't opt out of getting it entirely. You can't get 0. It's a crazy law. If you know anybody in the state legislature, tell them to repeal the damn thing. It's a lot of work, and it's very, very expensive for the HOAs, and the only people making money are the printing houses and mailing houses. So that's your statements. Meetings, you had some money in the meetings in previous budgets. Honestly, I don't really know where you were spending that. In the non-COVID, maybe you would have a meeting at a place where you would rent, or if you had refreshments brought in. During COVID, for the foreseeable future right now, we're going to do Zoom meetings, which don't cost you anything. So, but I did put something in the budget from a carryover from previous usage. Same thing with social. You did have a social budget that actually was $6,000 in the previous year, but you didn't really use it. We took it down to $3,000. Let's hope the board can use some of that budget in a social function in a post-COVID world. Miscellaneous is just a catch-all bucket. You have a budget for things that don't fall in the other categories in operations, and that's a minor $50 a month. Legal fees is for the board to exercise if it needs a legal opinion or a lawyer letter written for a reason or an opinion on CC&Rs. This is not legal collections or legal as far as lawsuits or anything else. If you get involved in collections with a lawyer, that typically goes on the homeowner's account, so we don't budget for those extra expenses. $750 is the flat fee from the CPA, it's $250 for the tax filing and $500 for a compilation. By law, you're required to do a compilation, a review, or a audit every year. Compilation is the least expensive and lowest level one to do. $12,500 is your landscape monthly expense per contract. It may go up or may go down depending on who you select going forward. For now, we're going to put a budget in of your current expense. Management services, this is our contractual rate that you hired us under, is $32.50, which was about $500 less per month than your previous management, and obviously no raise going forward for next year. Pest control is your contractual amount that you pay your pest control company. Miscellaneous repair. So I looked at your miscellaneous repair for the last couple of years, and this is repair of everything, anything that needs repairing that is not specifically in another GL code. So it's not the repair of electrical, and it's not the repair of irrigation systems. It's anything else that, needs repair. If it's a major repair like a light post or something, may not be in electrical, it may go in miscellaneous. If we have to do a major repair of a playground, it would go in there because we do have a playground, but it's only $400 a month.
Solved and adjusted so you could start where it's at, which is after you put the brake on the thing and put anything else on. Those gray things are fenders that go on top when they'll tell you when and thing, but.
Okay. Shrub install is exactly that. This is shrub install and replacement. It is about what you spent the last couple of years. I know there's a plan to do landscape rejuvenation. This would be not that. This is kind of replacing the dead ones, if you will, or maintenance-wise. If you're going to do a major renovation or plan, that would be a capital expense. Your tree pruning, this is what you've spent in tree pruning over the last couple of years, is about $18,000. Landscape other, this is where fertilization, the overseeding would go, any other expense that isn't captured in the other landscape categories. Drainage is small because it's really cleaning out if we need to clean out one of the dry wells or one of the drains. We do have dry well maintenance in the reserve budget. Irrigation repair, this is break fix. I looked at your last couple of years, you running around 20,000, sometimes higher. This year was higher, but I believe you did a lot of irrigation repair before the overseeding that needed to be done, and hopefully next year would be a little lower than that. But that's your irrigation repair and about your run rate for the last couple of years. Playground, you have $400 a month in playground for the cleaning and maintenance of the playgrounds. Vehicle access gates, that's for obviously the vehicle access gates for maintenance and repair of those. Electrical is your occasional electrical repair, including light bulbs if necessary. Street sweeping, you have a street sweeping contract. That's that amount. I'm going to skip the reserve contribution for the moment. That's actually the variable that makes this a balanced budget. Your electric is your electric utility. I didn't have the monthly averages or what the monthly data for the last several years. We usually like to look at that and budget on a per month basis. We didn't have that available to us, so I did look at the totals of the last couple of years, and you're running about $13,600 over the last couple of years average. We know water is a quarterly expense to the golf course, so your water is not really a variable. Insurance, this is your insurance for your liability and property policy and your directors and officers policy on a per year basis. That's your current insurance cost. We don't know what your next year policy is going to be after this expires. Property tax, you've spent over $3,000 in property tax, and honestly, we don't know why. HOAs typically do not pay significant property tax. You do have many, many parcels, over 50, and we're going to go through all those parcels. Sometimes they're misdeeded. Sometimes they're charging tax where they shouldn't be. You also may have a water tax, which is the water ground tax, but I'm unaware of it at this point. But it is the number carried from your previous year that you did spend. You do have income tax. You are a nonprofit, but you would still pay federal income tax on the word just went in my head, passive income. So you have a lot of interest, you have to pay income on that interest. So it's calculated to be at $1,625. And then we have a miscellaneous catch-all, $50 a month for anything else that we might have missed. Now you see that it actually comes out to $25. This budget we bring out as a zero budget or a balanced budget. The variable, or your net income, if you will, is actually the reserve contribution. So anything that is over the expenses that come in income go to your reserves, and then we'll show you how the reserves work. Any questions on your operational expenses, board? Any homeowners would like to ask a question about the operational expenses?
I have one.
Go ahead,
Armin.
Jeff, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Who is that, please? Is there a question?
Oh, I'll go. This is Nathan Rouse, 25270 Sagebrush Street. I'm happy to see this budget, quite frankly. I do have a question. Maybe it's a balance sheet question, but do we capitalize any type of long-term improvements, or is that just all cash-based accounting, or we just take
Good
the
straight
expense
man.
all up front?
Don't let me go to the next phase, next step. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So this is the operation or monthly type expenses. We then do you have a reserve study, and that reserve study, as I mentioned, let's see, it's going to be hard to see it. If you can see that page, this is your list of assets from the reserve study. So these are all your capital expenses, I believe you were mentioning, Nathan. So the third-party company that did your reserve study does a inventory of all your assets, from irrigation controllers, pet stations, your play structures, all your fencing, your benches. It does go through your dry wells, your granite replacement, basketball courts, and then the equipment in parcel 6, which that's where your asphalt is and your gates. They take that listing, they assign a current value to that. As you see the current value column, you have $771,943 in current value assets. They give you a total life of those assets. That's what that asset should expect to have the entire life of. For instance, the top asset is an irrigation controller. It's said to last 15 years. Then there's a remaining life of that asset, and that's the second red column number. And they vary from 0 to whatever the total life of that asset is. If you see a 99, that either a placeholder or it's an asset that is not funded. So that top one, as an example, irrigation controllers, has a 0 life left over. So that means it's budgeted for 2021 to replace, to have that expense of the $7,333 for that irrigation controller. And then you can see there's 1 year and 2 years after that. If you go down to one of the major expenses, down at block wall painting, this one right here, it has an 8-year life, and in 1 year, it's budgeted to paint. So these are your long-term expenses and your capital improvements and your replacement of assets. So we take all these numbers and we do a 30-year cash flow projection just to show you that it exists. This is the first 10 years of that cash flow projection. I don't expect you to read it. The board members do have this in PDF, and you can zoom into it and look at it. And that's the year 10 to year 30 of the cash flow projections. And that takes into assumptions of return on investment and inflation into that. So we take these this list of assets, and we take your expenses from operations, and we put this in our budget model. And the page we want to look at first is this one. So these are the bottom half of this down here. I can do that without messing it up. These are the assets that either are repaired or replaced from the reserve study in 2021 on a per month basis. So there's about $75,000 worth of expense. I'm sorry, 81,643, which is this number right down there, worth of expense budgeted for capital or reserve replacements based upon this. This flows up into that spreadsheet above it, and this was what that one looks like. So everything in red is a variable here. So our return on investment, the third-party company, reserve study company, targets that at 1% this year. Obviously, that's unbelievably historically low. But right now, you can't even get a 12-month CD at 1%. So that's the only place your HOA can put the money in, is a FDIC protected account, of course. The CPI, or that's your inflation rate, is at 3%. So that's the assumption of 3%. I typically like 2.3 because the government accounting office says it's 2.3% for the next 20 years. But the reserve study came in at 3. And we do this exercise every year. You look at your ROI every year, and look at your inflation every year. The difference between 3% and 2.3% over the next couple of years is minuscule, but you carry this thing out 30 years, it does make a very big difference as it accumulates. You currently have, of course, 785 households. They pay $152 per quarter. So you have your income. You have income from the 16 units in parcel 6. That's the gated community. They pay an additional assessment of $3,920. And also your community has, upon sale of a home in escrow, a contribution of $556 to the HOA for reserves. So we calculate that on a 10-year turn. That's about average until we get a better handle. Is your community less than 10 years or more than 10 years? That means your average house sells once every 10 years. So in a 10-year turn of 785 houses, that's 75.8 houses per year, and that would bring in $3,637 per month. So you see at the end of that column, you have additional income of $43,000 here. So that, and then you have your interest income at 1%. So your total income on this budget is $546,641. Your total operational expenses that we already went over was $392,987, and that gives us a contribution to reserves for $153,655. You are extremely well reserved based upon the reserve study draft. I'll put it as a draft because the board has not yet made adjustments to that for projects and plans that aren't in there, like your landscaping project. But you have the money, you're very well reserved. That would give you reserves at the end of the year of $885,000. Your starting reserves are $813,000, and that's this number here. So at the end of the year, we're predicting you'll have $862,000 in cash. We recommend you take 45 days of expenses and leave that in your checking account, which would be $48,450, which is that purple number right above it. And that leaves $813,942 in your reserve account. So you essentially take the money you need for operations and put everything else in reserves. And then you build your reserves up from there. What all these numbers mean, and you guys have been way patient, I really appreciate that because it's a lot of information. The output of this is this bar chart. And this bar chart, I'll zoom into it a little bit if I can. Let's see, it doesn't like it doing that way. Oh, come on. All right, so this is a 30-year bar chart based upon all the numbers we just went over. So it really makes more sense if you look at it this way. There's 4 bars per year. The blue bar is your contribution to reserves. The red is your expenditure from reserves. The green is your actual reserves. And the purple bar is your theoretical 100% reserves. So as you can see, your green bars over the years stay way up there. And the model here is to always have the green and the purple near each other. And you adjusted it a little bit. So down in year 30, just for the sake of discussion, you're still there. If you look at your assessments, this table above it, it drives those, and it says that maybe in about 6-7 years, you'll have an assessment raise. So based upon that, and I'll go down here. This is the 10-year zoom. So here's your 10-year version of that bar chart. So based upon all the numbers I told you, management is recommending no raise in your assessments and the operational expenses that I have presented to you. Now I'll be quiet. Board, are there any discussions over all that?
Looks great.
Thank you. We put a lot of work into our budgeting. Okay, any other board discussions or board questions? And then I'll open it up to homeowners after that.
I have a question. Did you
Okay,
receive the input from the homeowners that RCP had collected about a wish list for reserve projects that we would be doing in the future?
No, that is not incorporated in this budget.
No,
the board will
but
be
did you receive that data?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, put it on your list.
I shall. I heard it exists. Yeah, I did hear it exists, and that's what, you have so much room in your budget that the board is going to take those into account as we go forward. So I'm just trying to set our, what we have, set the operational budget with no raise for next year. And obviously there's a lot of room to discuss and manage your reserves. Good question. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Harmon. So there was a question in the chat room earlier.
I
I'm not
didn't
sure
see it.
if you can explain it, the $500 web expense. I believe it was before you guys came in. I think it was last month.
Honestly, I do not know what that is. I do know that RCP charged you $60 a month for a website. We do not. You'll have no web expense under us. So we have not received all the details of their October P&L, if you will, and we'll be looking at that. So when we do a transition, we finally get all the documentation, we reconcile the final set of books, we share that with the board to make sure everything looks good, and then our opening books balance the takeover and the transition. So I don't have that information of the detail of $500. I would question it too. I don't understand how you could have $500 in website in 1 month.
I think it was their Appfolio, from what I understand. I believe it was their Appfolio they were pushing out.
Oh, they charge you a separate? Yeah, go ahead.
You just fell off. Well, you're still going to fall off. Now I've got myself confused. Oh,
okay.
When will we actually vote on approve this budget? Will that be in December or will that be in the January meeting?
Right now.
What about
the goal
is in the air?
Well, the reserve is not a voting. What I would like you to see to vote on is the operational expense budget and the no assessment raise. That's essentially your budget, and we have to publish that budget 30 days before it actually takes effect to all the homeowners. So the goal here is for the board to approve a budget tonight, and then we get it in the mail next week to all the homeowners.
I'll pass a motion to approve the budget.
I second.
I have a question about the budget.
And I don't know who that is. Identify yourself, please.
Jeff, the homeowner.
Okay, let's hold that question to just make sure there's no board discussion on the motion, and then you could have the floor, sir. Board, any more discussion on the motion?
No.
Okay, Jeff, floor is yours.
Just had a quick question. What is the vehicle access gate? Where is that located and what does that entail?
The vehicle access gates are right next to the golf course entrance. You have parcel 6 has 16 homes in it that have private streets and have vehicle access gates. Okay, has a little keypad and remote control, and they open up and close. And they pay more to maintain those assets.
Okay, so that's the gated community. And in the past,
correct.
They've had separate budgets for the non-gated and the gated community. So that's why I was confused on that. The other question I had is line item I just saw it, 80999 miscellaneous, and then the last line item, I believe, is 9,995,999. Both of those are listed.
Good question.
Miscellaneous. Are those
Yeah.
duplicate or are they separate things?
They're different things. This is miscellaneous for operations, and the other is miscellaneous for everything else that's not operations. If it's a repair or it's something else that the board may want to do. Let's say signs. You didn't see there's a budget for signs. Excuse me. So we would put a sign in miscellaneous because it's a grounds issue or an HOA part, not part of operations.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Any other homeowner discussion on the motion?
Question, Harmon.
Nope.
This
Go ahead,
Nathan,
Nathan.
again, very good income statement. I appreciate you showing this and putting this together. Is there any way for us to see, maybe from a balance sheet perspective, the value of our assets over time to see if they on average are getting older? Or I'm just worried we're falling behind on maintenance, and I would much rather spend the money than leave it in a reserve personally.
Good question. I think the best way I can answer that is I will send you a copy of the reserve study after it's in draft form right now. When that's done, we'll see, and that'll be available on the website to all the homeowners. And you can look at the reserve study, and I think it'll answer those questions. And if you individually have questions, you can always feel free to give me a call at the office. I'd be glad to talk to you about it.
Okay. Are there opportunities to where we could accelerate some of the maintenance to improve the look and view of our association, either without increasing fees right now or only increasing it at CPI? What's your thoughts on that?
It's the board's intention to do that this year.
There you go. There's your answer.
Okay.
Yeah, a reserve study is a tool and a guideline for the board. The board can move things up, push things back, decide to refurbish or replace and enhance the community. So yes, that is up to the board.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Good. Any more homeowner discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, board, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion passes unanimously. I'll put the board agenda back up. And I think that was our last agenda item, except for homeowners forum. I know everybody can unmute themselves, so if somebody would like to, if it's not more than a couple of people, we can sort that out. But if you have any items you would like on the agenda for next meeting, this is the homeowners forum part that please, the floor is to the homeowners.
It's Nathan again. Sorry, I'm taking up all the time. But Art mentioned that wish list. I didn't attend the last meeting, so I didn't see it. But to the extent now those fall in the budget this year, they're unbudgeted and they get pushed to a future year. I mean, I'd like to see some type of study that shows, how much it would cost us as homeowners to accelerate any of that maintenance to get it done quicker.
Nathan?
Yep.
I believe that it was our intention that once we hit roughly $1 million, which is now, that we would actually have not a budgeted item, but we would have actual projects which we would propose from the homeowners wish list, and we would go out as separate contracts to upgrade the gravel, upgrade the trees, the bushes. So it's going to happen, but it's going to happen as a non-budgeted item, as a separate project out of the reserves, without a fee increase.
That's good. And even if we have to increase, I mean, I think be transparent and let's just.
Okay, we'll have a sagebrush surcharge.
I don't care. Do it. I'd rather my home be worth more than look like crap. So
Nathan, if I can jump in, what Art is saying is 100% correct. We were waiting for this to be done a year ago. And especially during COVID, we could have done this last year. Talking about where is that, I noticed somebody mentioned where is that $500 for the web fee was going to be an additional $4,000 next year under budget that I noticed. So there were a lot of issues. This is all planned to move forward. But by the time we decide on a landscaper, wait for the right time to plant, figure out our situation with the golf course and the water issue, we're all residents, we're all volunteers. Of course, we want to make this place, that's why we're involved, is to make this place a better place.
Nope, I agree. I appreciate your guys' work, and personally, I'm not worried about a $500 expense. It's a rounding error. What I'm worried about is the $100,000 project and making sure that we've got the money in the reserve. And from this meeting, it looks like we do when those events come up.
All right, any other questions before the vote? I think, we had the vote. We had so much discussion. So
Yes, we did.
we did, okay, passed unanimously. And, oh, that's right, we're in homeowners forum. I'm sorry. I got caught up. I was reading your chats. Any other homeowners comments? And thank you, by the way, for some of the homeowners comments in chat. We appreciate it very much.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, hey, hi, it's Laura, 2494 East Jasper Drive. I was told to go to attend one of these meetings with the board members due to an issue I've had with not RCP. They were trying to help me, but the previous management company about a fee that they erroneously charged me. So I don't know if I'm at the right or who I should speak to about that. They were helping me and now they're not there. And he said to go on to the next meeting because he couldn't bring it up with the board. And I'm this has been going on since months and months and months. And so I'm just trying to get a resolution on my situation, which was they charged me to cut down a tree that was a sapling in my yard that I already did. And apparently they had charged other people too, come to find out. That was not RCP, but the other management company. So this money that they charged me kept on rolling and rolling, and I couldn't get a hold of them, and it was just a big long mess. So I filled out paperwork, I sent to RCP. He understood the situation. He says he's come across my same situation with other homeowners, and he's like, I always have this negative amount, and I'm not, I don't know what to do at this point. It needs to be erased, or what do I do? I mean, what do I do to get this fixed?
Okay, Laura, I have an answer for you. I hope you don't mind my answer. We're going to have to help you and work on it. So please give us a call at the office. You can email us, but you can call us also. Ask for Naomi at first. As Naomi's not available, ask for me. So do you have our phone number?
I do. Thank you.
Great.
I just didn't know. I mean, it felt like I was just.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we do have the ledgers, and we can look at it. We'll help you understand what it is, and then we'll bring it to the board at the next meeting. Oh, we don't know, so you have to help us.
No, I'll help you. Yeah, I don't want to take everybody's time over it. I just
okay, but yeah, we'll be glad to help you with it.
Okay, thank you so much. That's what I need.
You're welcome.
And it was Naomi I speak with? Yeah,
Naomi would be your contact. So as far as everybody, Naomi's your assistant manager. I'm your manager, but we're always there to help you. There's other people in the office. As far as our philosophy and goal is, we answer our telephone. We do not use an auto attendant during the week. Now, if you once in a while, we do have meetings. We have a company meeting on Tuesday afternoon, and you'll get a voice message maybe for that couple hours or hour and a half, and we'll call you back. But we answer our phone. We will take care of it. We really try to do that for you. So if it's Naomi or myself, somebody can talk to you and make sure we do something for you. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
And that's to everybody on the call too, by the way.
It just was this rolling, horrible snowball from not RCP, but the group before, and they would never answer their phone. never call you back and send you over to somebody else that didn't call you
Welcome to
back.
the new world.
Yeah.
Welcome to new management.
That's a good world for me.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Any other homeowner would like to make a comment in the forum here?
Hello, my name is Nick.
Go ahead, please.
And I'm from 621 South Parkcrest. And I've just noticed a lot of the walls. I'm new to the HOA, and I've noticed a lot of walls that abut up to the golf course are deteriorating and falling over. But that haven't fallen over, but are falling, are getting weak, and it appears that is a safety concern. Is that on the priority list, or how do we add that to a priority list?
Board, would you like to address that? You know more about it than I do at this point.
And here, I'm so sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The gentleman was asking about walls that adjoin or abut the golf course that are in deterioration and maybe a safety issue. Is that right, sir?
That is correct, sir. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you hear that, Ron?
Yeah, the walls that the golf course takes zero responsibility for those fences, unfortunately. I had to replace my fence 3 times, and they take zero, and I've been here for 21 years. They take zero responsibility, and I believe is in the golf course document, CCNRs, when the place was sold. They take absolutely no responsibility. But if their water is hitting your fence, give them a call and they will come in right away and adjust it. But they take zero responsibility.
Any other comments from homeowners?
Are those walls abutting the golf course, are those technically owned by homeowners or the association?
They're by the homeowners. The association pays for half the walls in common areas. In the south of Knox, there's a section that you have the playground, and we take care of half, they take care of half.
Got it.
There's another, I apologize, there's a couple of sections, there's one in each section, but the biggest one is on that park.
Any other, Laura, okay, Laura, I'll take it as your old hand raised because you were speaking already. Anybody else? Before we go into executive session?
This is Don.
Go ahead, sir.
This
Go ahead,
is Don
Don.
Jordan.
Go ahead, Don Jordan, we can hear you.
Stella Street. I just want to bring to your, I guess, your focus that I've requested for years and nothing's been done. So I want to make sure you guys know about it and bring it to your focus. Drainage basins on Quinn, south of Warner. In the summertime, hot summertime, it is an environmental hazard, big time, for mosquitoes and so forth. That hasn't been cleaned in years and years. So I want to bring that to attention. And recently, also it's been for years, the pretty sure it's HOA property, but it's in between the wall that connects Roanoke, which is a cul-de-sac, and Warner, totally on the east side of that to where it goes into the next community. There's a whole section that hasn't been maintained for years. And I've reported that to previous management companies, but nothing's been done. So I just want to make sure you guys are aware of it.
Mr. King, that section off of Quinn on our map shows that the golf course is fully responsible, and they put a drainage. They put a French drain, but they didn't do a good job. Unfortunately, Buddy has left the golf course, as you know. So my suggestion is, get a hold of the golf course and keep pushing them. We've told them is not our property. There's nothing we can do because
I've gotten a hold of the golf course and they've told me it is the HOA property.
No, I think Haywood even mentioned that we determined it was their properties. They paid the tax on it. I look at it again, I have the map. But if it's ours, we will look at it, but.
It's the drainage basins. As far as I know, the drainage basins are HOA property.
No, that base, if the water is going through their yard, if it's going through their land, they take care of the basin. We don't take care of that. We had the
and it's the sprinklers, I'm told, are HOA property, because I reported one of the sprinklers in the same area before, and they said, no, that's not the golf course sprinklers, it's the water, it's HOA sprinklers, and the HOA agreed, yes, it's HOA sprinklers, and that's where all the water is coming from. And those basins are just overgrown mud holes. And in the summertime, they create environmental hazard.
Don, this is Harmon. If you wouldn't mind, could you actually call me directly in the next few days so I can get more detail where this is? And then I also have another suggestion.
Sure, I'll send you pictures too.
That'd be great. No, and I'll certainly research it and communicate directly with you on that. Also, in mosquitoes, whether it's golf course, homeowner, or HOA, the city of Gilbert and the Maricopa County Vector system, they are on mosquitoes like you can't believe.
I have reported to them in the past, and they have sent stuff out to say, better take care of it. It's never been taken care of.
Okay, because other properties that we manage in Gilbert, if we have a mosquito issue, they are all over us, and we have to take care of it very quickly, and we do. So if it's the golf course, we got a full court press. Okay, Gilbert is a little more aggressive too, but Maricopa Vector and the city of Gilbert is good. But if you would call me directly,
and I'll send you
more notes, because I don't know exactly where you mean.
I'll do that, and I'll send you a picture of the other items that's also on Warner's, between the HOA wall and Warner Street.
Okay.
At the very east end of our property, it's like, has been maintained as just gravel and looks like trash.
All right, we'll see, we'll verify, and you and I can look at what the property is, and we'll see what we can do. I appreciate the call. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, board, hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn the open session and go to executive session.
Aye.